In this episode, we're talking about the massive increase in hearing aid sales.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Dr. Cliff Show. I'm Dr. Cliff Olson, audiologist and founder of Applied Hearing Solutions in Phoenix, Arizona, and I am joined today with two of my regular co-hosts. We have Dr. Kelsey Beck and Dr. Rachael Cook. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. What did you guys do today?
Worked in the clinic.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of patients.
Nice.
Really tired.
There you go. Well, we're burning the midnight. It's literally a Friday, and it's past regular working hours at this point. But we had a particular topic that we really wanted to cover. You guys touched base on it a little bit in one of the shows that you guys did together that I was not a part of, and I'm like, well, I don't want to be left out of that conversation.
No, little FOMO. Major FOMO.
Exactly right. So there was actually an article published in Hearing Tracker. I love Hearing Tracker.
I love Hearing Tracker. I'll second
you love
that.
Hearing
We
Tracker.
all love
Yeah,
Hearing
I actually
Okay.
love it more than you, so.
You love Hearing Tracker more than me?
Yeah, probably.
Okay, well
You
let's
guys
do it.
we're like the three people who buy Hearing Tracker regularly.
We should do push-ups to see who loves Hearing Tracker the most.
Not it.
Okay, maybe not push-ups.
I'm a tap out on that one.
Yeah.
I'll
Fair
keep
enough.
score.
Well, there was an article on there that talked about the hearing aid sales in the first quarter of 2023
Yep.
and what they had reported to them, or rather what the Hearing Industries Association, the HIA, had reported. And this is really all of the major brands of hearing aids are a part of this association. So they actually will publish the data, the sales data of how many units were sold.
Yeah.
And they saw a 9% increase in the first quarter of 2023, which is massive when you look at it.
Huge.
Yeah.
Okay, really big. I think that other than coming out of the pandemic where there was pent-up demand for hearing aids because that was like a negative 30-some%, we have not seen numbers like that for over a decade or more at this point.
Probably not since Bluetooth came out in hearing aids or something
Exactly.
like that, right?
Exactly, which was what, 2013 or so? So yeah, about 10
Yeah.
years there. Now one of the other key pieces of that is that that's actually now a combination of prescription hearing aids and OTC that they're
yeah,
starting to
it
wrap up
is.
into it. So for any viewers who are not aware of OTC hearing aids and when that came out, it was actually October of 2022 that was officially finalized. And what that means is that now over-the-counter hearing aids are actually a category of devices. And so that has really made it to where they started tracking that data, but really the first full quarter is here in 2023, and that comprised 1% of those sales. Is that a lot?
No, it's not.
Okay, 1% of the amount of hearing aids that we're talking about, it's a really, like, that number of hearing aids overall is a big number.
Yeah.
But we were expecting a much larger number than that.
Yeah, especially from the sales side. Now, I don't recall how if returns were talked about in that as well. But again, at a lower cost for these OTCs, not really sure how many people executed a return if they needed to as well. But in any case,
Or even executed a return after the tallying window of January to February, March in the March.
exactly. And so grain of salt. But again, we're talking about millions of hearing aids being sold every single year. 1% of a big number is a big number, but relative to everything else is a very small amount. But they did carve out a full percent, which I think is cool. But I really was thinking that maybe we'd have like 4%, 5%, something like that to really carve out a big portion of people we were missing with hearing treatment. But I just don't feel like they had this grand opening to that market that they were really trying to get into.
And especially with all the publicity that came with OTC and how long it took, and people were literally postponing treatment to essentially get to the point where, hey, I'm waiting for OTC. When it comes out, man, I'm buying it. And to come in at your hottest time at the very beginning and you put up a 1%, you can look at that in different ways. I think that you might look at, and remember that this is data from the HIA. So these are the major hearing aid manufacturers
It's
that
not
are
all-encompassing.
It's not all-encompassing.
Right.
You don't have companies like Eargo. You don't have companies like Bose, to my knowledge, included in this data that are adding to it. And everyone's talking about why don't the major hearing aid manufacturers make an OTC product? I don't think they realize they are.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, in fact, those are some of the best products on the market.
They're almost all in the game by this point.
So like we have the Jabras from, GN Resound. We have a lot of others that are trying to, also meet this need as well. But I think that the overarching goal of, hitting a market that was not previously treating their hearing loss kind of fell a little flat.
Yeah.
And I wish that it had, a better penetration to the market as well.
Yeah, I think like you said, there's kind of a couple of ways to think about it. You could think that either there was going to be this massive breakthrough within a little bit of a trickle or a stabilization of purchases, or the opposite. They're just getting started and they need some growth to kind of gain that trust in the public eye that they're actually worth investing your money in, because to be fair, a lot of these over-the-counter devices are still very expensive, which is still shocking to me because a lot of them still retail for $1,000, $2,000, like they're
$3,000.
not.
Yeah, like the earbuds are not inexpensive.
They're not inexpensive by any means. So I do think that there's the potential that they will either continue to grow in that segment of the market, or this was the best entrance they were going to have overall. I don't know.
And I'm actually having a different thought as well. We had all of these, OTC devices that, were now, a whole different category and they're FDA approved and regulated and all that. But direct-to-consumer hearing aids have existed for a very long time.
This didn't change a ton.
Well, and I do wonder as well, because I'm even confused on some of the marketing of the over-the-counter hearing aids versus the direct-to-consumer, personal amplifiers that have been out forever. I wonder too, and this would be an interesting statistic to look up, is if those also had an increase in purchases because people thought they were purchasing over-the-counter devices, which again, it all leads to people talking about treating their hearing loss, which is one of the biggest goals when we do anything within, the hearing sphere, is like, how do we get more people to talk about and treat their hearing loss as early as possible?
Totally.
There was a quote in the article by an industry expert, and I'll actually link that article on Hearing Tracker down in the description of this podcast show, but that he believes that in the first year of over-the-counter hearing aids that there will be 1 million units sold. And so this begs the question, first and foremost, what is a unit?
Right.
Oh.
I mean, do we think it's a pair? Because to my knowledge, every single pair of OTC devices that I've reviewed, they come in a pair.
Comes in a pair, yeah.
You can't split
Is
them
that
up.
2 units or is that 1?
Well, and that's the thing too, is that, prescriptive level hearing aids, they don't come as a pair. And so when we're talking units, we are talking a singular hearing aid, because you do need one for each ear, but they're not sold as a set. And so does it inflate the margins one way or the other, right? So, we're selling, let's say we sold 1 million hearing aids this year, and 90,000 of them, right, are prescriptive level devices. But we're also counting them as 2 different devices as well, not individuals who've been served. Whereas if we're counting it the other way, but then vice versa, if you cannot buy an over-the-counter as 2 separate hearing aids, and you have to buy it as one, I think that should be a unit. That's one purchase.
The 1% actually comes out to 13,000 units, all right? In that first quarter, 13,000 units.
That's it?
So it's like, well, is it really 7,500 pair? Oh, sorry, my numbers are off. Is it really 12,500? What was the number? 13,000, right?
13,000.
Yeah.
You
So,
were on the
okay,
right
I'm on the
track.
right track.
7,500, right?
No,
So-
that comes out to
60
15,000. Okay,
I don't know.
None of us are math majors, and none of us got
This is
our doctorate
embarrassing.
in math.
It's the
Right.
end of the day on a
Right,
Friday.
yeah. So it would be 6,500. So 6,500
Yeah,
12.
pairs.
Boom, there it is.
Right, so 13,000 units is potentially 13,000 pairs, or it's 6,500 pairs.
Yeah.
Right.
And we're talking nationally in the first quarter. I'm leaning towards a unit as being a set.
It should be, because that's the only way that you can purchase it. Okay.
Yeah,
Now, I've had someone on the inside of the industry tell me that they're trying to count a pair of of OTC devices sold as 2 units. Because they're trying to inflate the numbers.
That's honestly super embarrassing then for the first quarter to be having 6,500,
Okay,
units.
I don't think it's that low. I don't think it's that low.
But that's why I'm saying, like, it's probably, if we're talking about the whole country in the first 3 months of this year, right?
I'll tell you.
13,000, I think, would be reasonable. But if it's only 6,500, I mean, then this market penetration is honestly terrible.
Well, I can tell you this. I, as an individual, as an audiologist who's had content created about DTC, OTC hearing devices for the past 6 years plus at this point, I have not seen a major demand because I affiliate these things and I sell these things directly.
Yep.
And I'm like, where are all the sales?
Yep.
I don't know where they are. I don't know who's buying these things. I want them to buy them, but they're not. And I don't know what is going to change that. When I do my reviews, I do honest reviews, so I do say pros and cons of different technologies, even for prescription devices. But we get a ton of people in who want the prescription devices, and it's very few and far between for OTC.
And truthfully, those who do even ask about OTC are not candidates for it. So we kind of glossed over, at least for this first half of the discussion, what makes you a candidate for an OTC. They're designed for adults, over 18, mild to moderate hearing loss. Anecdotally, by the time people come in really for a hearing evaluation, I'm not usually seeing the mild to moderate hearing loss. We're talking, moderately severe to severe in the high frequencies, right? I mean, these OTC devices wouldn't even be capable of hitting those kinds of targets, when we're talking about matching your prescription as well. So even though, they clearly carved out a 1%, how many people, are actually being serviced and serviced well by them?
And the thing is that we have data inside of the direct-to-consumer market that transition into OTC where the return rates are 30 to 50%, where people will purchase OTC devices.
I would get fired.
You would.
Yes, I would get fired.
I would fire you.
Yes.
But they purchase these devices. They don't have success. I don't know what level of support that they're actually reaching out to acquire, because the companies that sell them don't force the service on you. And if they had it their way, they'd probably prefer you don't reach out for service, because then they have to have people there to help you. But they could take them into a hearing care professional and try to get them to work better. But the 30 to 50% of the people who purchase OTC, they realize they're actually not a candidate. But when you start looking at the market of the individuals, the quantity of people who have a mild to moderate hearing loss versus having a moderately severe to profound level of hearing loss, it's like a pyramid. So the vast majority of the market is in the mild to moderate at the base of the pyramid, and then it gets much more narrow as you get to the top of the pyramid. Less people have a moderately severe to profound level of hearing loss. And so it would stand to reason that if everyone who has a mild to moderate hearing loss who could get some benefit from an OTC device, you would have it literally a massive shift.
You would have the largest portion of the market.
Yeah, but it so depends on that perception of, do I have a hearing loss? Because I mean, us three sitting here, we know that that gradually happens over time. The hearing loss is not something that typically just shows up overnight. So you don't have this massive, suddenly today everything is different, right? And so these mild to moderate hearing losses, they go for a while before anybody perceives any, a lot of significant difficulty that actually then leads them into doing anything about it, because a lot of people at that mild loss don't know they have one.
That's right. I think it's kind of the old adage, like, we've been trying to solve the treating the mild to moderate hearing loss community for a long time, and we just don't know how to crack that nut. We just don't know. We don't have the tool to do it. And we thought that OTC might be the tool, and it might be the tool. We just don't know yet. And these numbers don't give me the confidence to think that we're going to hit 1 million units sold, even if that is 500,000 pairs sold right in the first year. I just don't know if that can happen.
I'll tell you this much. When over-the-counter hearing aids were coming out, there were so many, not only articles about it, news releases, press releases, talk show segments, and then we not only saw that, we saw companies that were in the hearing aid space, notably like CVS had started their hearing health clinics, and Walmart had started their Walmart Health hearing aid branches and divisions of that as well. And we saw these giants literally get in and pull out immediately, because why? Looming OTC. OTC is going to come in, it's going to shake the market up, it's going to disrupt everything. Oh my gosh. I haven't had a question asked to me about an over-the-counter hearing aid, no joke, in probably the last 6 months from a patient. I have not had I have not had one question about it. And I know that other people in the office have.
I've had
but
judgmental comments about them, but not from me, from other patients.
But that's what I'm saying is like, where's the disruption? I was waiting for my job to be like hanging in the balance. And then I'm just sitting here like, actually, if anything, I have people come in who say, I tried this thing out and it didn't work. Or maybe they'll ask, am I a candidate? Again, that hasn't happened in so long that I'm like, over the counter who?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was in grad school still working on my degree when, all of this, really started to hype up, around 2020 and then after the pandemic, we were trying to get all the guidelines all done for what could be considered an OTC and all of that. And I remember getting this like panicked phone call from my mom. She was so nervous that maybe you're choosing a bad career path, like maybe like this OTC thing sounds like it's really like, I don't know, like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, do you want to like back out? Like, I'll pay for you to go to school for something else. Like, what do I need to do to get you out of this, essentially? And I'm like, Mom, just breathe. Like, what I do is still important. I promise you, like, even if that this is a thing, these are not the people that I tend to treat anyway. Like, I had to talk her down from
Talk your mom off the ledge.
from being scared that I was making a career mistake. And now, kind of the proof in the pudding a little bit. Again, we're still so early on with all of this that it could very well take this massive market, but I mean, we're really not serving that market at this point anyway, right? Like, this is a new, different space to be in that we really aren't in anyway.
Yeah, no, totally true. So, obviously a 9% increase when you add the 8% with the 1%, 8% prescription, 1% OTC. I'm wondering why in the previous year, so 2022, hearing aid sales did not grow very much.
Didn't.
And so there's probably a couple variables that go into that.
Yeah, I think one reason is that people were waiting for OTC. A lot of people who thought maybe I have these hearing difficulties, I don't know if I need hearing aids. If they had heard any of these talks of, ooh, we're almost there, because I mean, the initial legislation was supposed to have passed in 2017 and then pushed back. We had more important things like, I don't know, a global
COVID,
pandemic or something, easy things that, why did we pause it? But I think people, once these things started coming out, they were like, oh, okay, I'll wait. So this was data from the first quarter of 2023, which means we're not necessarily capturing, I guess we did in the article, the last quarter of 2022, which would have been the market entry for those devices. But I can tell you it was not any 9%.
Yeah, it was actually, I think it was a negative number.
Okay, well, it got worse at that moment.
Yeah.
So I do think some people were like holding out and waiting, and I think that's maybe one reason why at end of 2022 wasn't looking so hot.
Yeah, well, and then the other piece of that too is that we really didn't get new releases of prescriptive level hearing aids either until I think one of them came out like last September, which, great technological advances, but then another like few were in the spring of 2023 as well, so during that first quarter
wait.
as well.
And
well, and
wait
that's
for
the
that.
thing. Well, because even our recommendation, right, if I'm not seeing that there's going to be enough of an advancement to justify you upgrading your hearing aids, I'm not going to recommend it, right? If I don't think that you're going to see the difference of what purchasing a new prescriptive level device is going to, I'm just not going to recommend it. So I think that you also had a lot of people, who were ready to upgrade waiting for the next to come out, because they do come out, every 18 months or so.
Yeah. So I think financial issues in the economy may have played some role in it. Maybe not a whole lot, though, because when you look at hearing aids, it's a relatively inelastic market. What I mean by that is that hearing aid prices can fluctuate, your finances can fluctuate, you still want to hear. And so if you need hearing aids, you're going to get hearing aids. And we have data that shows that people do not change their decision to purchase hearing aids based on what's happening economically very much.
And I would almost argue that at the current moment, things are almost worse financially than they were even last year.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, all of my groceries are three
Double,
times higher than they used to
yeah.
be. Gas is higher than it's ever been. I mean, interest rates are through the roof. So I would argue that even now, going into 2023, that things are worse off financially, and we're still like, phew,
Well, I think there's mentality around it. So, like, you could come off of a really great financial year in the market, so like the stock market, and then you hit January and it's like the sky's falling and then everything plummets. That's kind of what happened in 2022. And then 2023, right at the beginning of it, the market started going up again. And even with the interest rates, going up. And
and then I think there's a difference too in mentality of, the stock market and then how actual real people are internalizing the market fluctuations, but then also the actual cost to people as life and inflation and those things that are more direct also hit as well. So like you said, like we're in a period of high inflation, right? And everything is more expensive. And yet people still want to hear. So even with this, if the stock market is doing something funny, how people internalize the economy is wholly different than, how people who are playing the stock market are.
Yeah, totally agree with that. But obviously this 9% increase, something happened to where just like the flip of a switch, we saw a massive increase in overall hearing aid sales. And I think that one could make the argument that maybe OTC is actually driving more prescription hearing aid sales. What would you say about that?
1,000,000%.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, because we were talking about it too. I mean, by the time you perceive a level of difficulty with hearing, I would argue that most people have a pretty significant hearing loss by that point, right? So they go and they try these over-the-counter devices and, I'm not having good success. Maybe I just need some help with them even, right? Or maybe I do need a hearing test, or maybe, something is going on. So we're talking about it and friends and family are talking about it and, please just try it because it's been in the news and all of those things.
I think the news has been the biggest part of it overall. We have seen every morning show has talked about it and probably talked about it about 10 times before it was about to be released, when it was released, after it's been released. We're seeing ads. I was just at the gym the other night and I was seeing over-the-counter hearing aid ads on a commercial on TV, and I was like, man, I haven't seen a commercial for OTC devices
I've never seen a prescription hearing aid commercial.
I've never seen
on TV.
One. I've never seen
I haven't seen a commercial in a very long time in general.
I had friends reaching out to me, sending me articles. How do you feel about this? Like, people are seeing it again and again and again. So what's funny, I think, is that all of this hubbub was about OTC, and it sure got people talking about it, and it sure resonated with a lot of people, enough to the point where they did go get their hearing tested, and they did start having questions about their hearing. And now they're in prescriptive devices. And so I'm like, well, you sure marketed well. It worked well for the prescriptive hearing aid market for sure.
For sure. And if my memory serves correct, and it could not, I mean, it's the end of the day on a Friday, but when prescriptive level glasses then went over the counter in, Walgreens, you can get reading glasses just over the counter, right? The optometry industry was kind of all in a flurry, like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? Like, that's half our sales is, reading glasses, and what are we going to do? And it ended up turning into people, trying these things didn't work. And then actually the optometrists got busier because people were talking about it and trying it. And so I think that the hearing industry is seeing something very similar.
Yeah, I think there's also a component of, even with that reference, is that maybe people saw like, oh my gosh, even with these cheap little readers, I can see better. I wonder how much better it could be if I got prescription ones, right? And then they go in and they're like, hey, I'm actually looking for better than what I got from this cheaper option that I went with. That could happen with OTC too. Like, you do get some benefit maybe with it, even if you have more than a mild to moderate hearing loss, and you're like, but could it be better? Like, that's the thing that eats away at me always. I'm like, could it be better?
Yeah.
Like, I always think about that with hearing treatment. It's like, well, yeah, you're doing good, but could it be better?
Yeah.
Like, I could have someone come back, you guys know, come back for a 1-week follow-up. They're like, everything's great. I don't want to change a thing. And I'm like, but could it be better?
Yeah.
What if I made this adjustment and tested it, and you come back the next time and say, it got better? Like, I think you owe it to yourself to test out that theory.
Yeah. I mean, I think I saw even one of your patients for a gold visit. So one of our check-in appointments where we were checking programming, and, I asked just the question, well, so if you could change something about your hearing, what would you change? He's like, well, I still have this, and I don't think my program for this is working very well. Well, okay, well, then it's not going perfectly like you just told me 10 minutes ago when I first asked you. So I added a whole new program, waiting, of course, to see now how well it's going. But, I mean, there's always things and ideas, and I think that's one of the cool things I think about our office, audiologists too, is that, we have each other to bounce ideas off of. Like, oh, did you try this? Oh, I haven't tried that. Why don't you throw that in their hearing aids and, see if that gives them, more benefit, right?
Well, I think that's the reason why we spend so much time with patients, even on a follow-up basis. A lot of clinics will be like, okay, every 6 months, come in, drop off your hearing aids, we'll clean them really quick, get them back to you. And it's like, nah, I don't feel like we're truly serving them the best we possibly can if we have that mentality of treatment. So we actually have them come in, we call that a gold visit. You spend a half hour with an audiologist, and then we're actually still digging to find out, like, is there something else that we could do? Even if it's been 3 years after we initially programmed your hearing aids and initially fit you, we're always still digging for something else that we could improve.
Yeah, I think it's a major overhaul in mentality, because I think a lot of audiologists and hearing healthcare professionals were faced with two major options. You could see OTC and you could go, I got to throw in the towel. I got to run. I'm done for. Your mom calls and she's like, you got to get out of this. You're done.
Yeah.
Get out of here. Or the individuals that do see OTC for what it is, they are going to have to separate themselves from the pack and be better and do better, because what we are going to find is there's going to be this middle ground of providers where the prescription level hearing aid that they're dispensing is performing the same as an OTC device.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have not done their job to optimize the settings within those hearing aids to have them hear their best. So that consumer looks at that and goes, well, I hear the same with the OTC and with the prescription. Why would I pick the prescription? It's going to be on the hearing healthcare professionals to level up and to really prove, here is where we are in this process. This is why I can add so much value to your hearing treatment. Not this is why you need me, but this is why you want me in that process with you. And we're gonna see a huge split, a massive split here. There's gonna be this huge managed care OTC type of hearing healthcare space, and then you're gonna have really quality professionals that are just knocking it out of the park.
And I have a question actually for you. Several people this week have told me that Medicare is contemplating paying for hearing aids. I have a sneaking suspicion that rumor is actually potentially about OTC devices. Have you heard anything?
No, I think it's
around that?
We're getting to an open enrollment period for Medicare Advantage, and so a lot of people will mentally associate Medicare, traditional Medicare, with Medicare Advantage, which
And that wouldn't shock me if Medicare Advantage plans started covering OTC hearing aids.
Oh, that too. But I think it's more along the lines of one of the biggest draws that these Medicare Advantage plans have from a marketing perspective is saying, hey, traditional Medicare doesn't cover vision, it doesn't cover dental, it doesn't cover hearing. We actually have coverage for vision, dental, and hearing if you go Medicare Advantage, and you don't spend any more or whatever the other reasons are. What people don't realize is that from a quality of care perspective, if you think that you're going to get excellent quality of care by going with Medicare Advantage provided hearing aids, you are sorely mistaken. And I think it's a travesty that we're letting the insurance companies essentially dictate that you're going to have success because you have coverage of some kind. And usually it's just a discount plan too. And so you're getting, hearing aids, but the reimbursement to the providers is so stupid low that they can't justify spending any more than a few minutes with you dispensing you those devices. Otherwise, they lose money, and they don't want to lose money. So what's the option? We'll get you the heck out of their office as soon as possible. That's Medicare Advantage, and that's what I think that they're talking about.
I agree with you as well. And here's the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if Medicare Advantage went away from the discount plans on on the prescriptive level hearing treatment. I would 100% believe that they're trying to move towards OTC specifically, so that they don't.
They'd be super smart to do that.
100%.
They'd make way more money.
Way more money.
Way more. You take the professional right on out of it.
Get rid of them entirely.
Don't even have to reimburse.
Go straight to them. And they could negotiate even better deals on the OTC devices for their members.
Because at that point, you're just talking about a retail product.
Yeah, totally.
You're just determining what your merchant pricing is at that point.
And essentially, if you can just shut up your member right? Like, look, we provided you with hearing aids.
We gave you hearing aids.
Yeah.
What else do you need?
Yeah, I think that too, that makes advocating for people with hearing loss from a professional's standpoint so much harder because, again, our society has put a lot of emphasis on products and consumerism and, and this is a hearing aid. Get a hearing aid, they'll treat your hearing loss. Get a hearing aid, they'll treat your hearing loss. And it's so much more complex than that. And so, the channel is going to become even more important. The boards for audiology, so like ASHA and ADA and all of these other governing boards have their work cut out for them when we're actually trying to get things passed. Like, I don't know, maybe we should all be required to do real ear measurement the right way. Maybe we should all be required to do that across the whole country. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
Silly
think
pipe
that
dream.
mandating stuff like that is ever going to happen, because what would happen is that people would not be able to meet that minimum requirement of even doing real ear measurements. I know it sounds crazy, but you would lose over half of your members, and then the organization would be bankrupt. Like they wouldn't have enough members to survive and continue on.
Which just makes me so unbelievably sad, because did we not all get into this to treat hearing loss and treat it well so that people could, integrate themselves back into their lives? Like that.
No, I think we did.
There's a lot of layers
but
to this.
But we as providers sometimes will make excuses to justify it being okay for me not doing these things. I need a job. I need to provide for my family. I have a lot of student loan debt. I was made promises that maybe were not true by the admissions counselors at these universities, whatever the case may be. And in a strange way, human beings can almost justify anything that they do. Like if you are speeding on the highway going 5 miles over the speed limit, we justify that. Like, oh, that's okay because someone else is also going over the speed limit. But if someone blows by you at 20 miles per hour, you're like, that jerk, they should be arrested for that. And it's like, well, to someone else, you're that jerk, you know? George Carlin had a great joke on this. I won't repeat it here, but you can go check that out. It's probably on YouTube about, everybody who drives slower than you is a jerk. Everybody who drives faster than you is I'm not going to say it, but hilarious, right? But we can justify anything when it comes to that. Now, I think we should point out that increased hearing aid sales doesn't necessarily mean increased hearing aid satisfaction. And why is that?
Because of what we were just talking about right here. Because you can have a product and it doesn't matter what product that you have if it's not being fit appropriately, programmed appropriately, and really catered to match your individual wants and needs, then poof, it doesn't matter.
You could spend $2 million on a set of hearing aids, or $2 million on one unit of a hearing aid, whatever unit that means, right? If it's not set up the right way, you are going to have a disastrous experience. And I wish that wasn't the case, and maybe one day it won't be, but where we sit right now, that's not an option. You need someone who is versed in hearing aids, hearing treatment, hearing perception, acoustics. I mean, we talk a lot about, people, consumers being their own advocates in this way. And I don't expect anybody to go off and get, a degree in acoustics and psychoacoustics. Like, that would be impossible. But some of this over-the-counter programming, right, or self-programming hearing aids, you have to have a little bit of knowledge to know what change to even make to try to make it better. And we're just not there.
Yeah, totally agree. I think the moral of the story here is that it's great to have more hearing aid sales. That means that more people are treating their hearing loss now than ever before in history. So you might want to get on that bandwagon
Heck yeah.
if you have hearing loss. But it doesn't guarantee that if you get hearing aids, whether they're prescription or OTC, that you're going to have success with them. You have to make sure that you're going to a professional who follows comprehensive best practices, pays attention to the details, takes a look and provides person-centered care, looks at your wants, needs, and values, and treats you according to those as well. And if you don't, like you said, you could get the $2 million set of hearing aids and you're not going to be able to hear. I'll sell anyone. Anyone want to buy a $2 million set of hearing aids?
Only if you're going to do all the rest of it.
Dr. Cliff approved.
Oh my gosh.
Well, thank you guys so much. I think this was a very productive conversation. Definitely some eye-opening moments that we talked about here today about prescription and OTC. If you guys liked the episode, make sure that you hit that like button. And if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button with notification bell so you receive a notification every single time we post a new video. And as always, we will see you next time.